It's always fascinating to see what happens to teams that lose in the Championship playoffs. Can you pull a Leeds and go ahead and win the title the following season, or will it be more like a West Brom and you regress down into the middle? The best case scenario is that this playoff appearance was all part of a long-term trajectory to Premier League stability, like a Brentford or a Brighton. Or is it the worst case scenario, like a Barnsley or a Huddersfield, where that playoff was one big peak and you're about to say bye-bye to all the people that got you there, and indeed the Championship, and it's League One, here you come. We've done 3 deep dives this week on the channel, looking at Sheffield United, Coventry and Bristol City, the teams that were defeated in the playoffs this past season. You can check them all out on the video tab, and here are a few key thoughts. And we'll start with Sheffield United, who throw up this interesting kind of topic of the teams that go into year 2 after relegation. And yes, everybody wants that parachute money, there's no denying that, but it does put you on a bit of a knife edge if you're only 1 season up in the Premier League, so only get 2 years worth of payments, and you enter that second year. You can look upon year 1 of relegation, or year 1 after relegation from the Premier League, in a very binary way, in that, did you get promoted or did you not get promoted? One is success, one is failure. And if you were to do that, you would conclude that Sheffield United failed last season. That's the razor view with absolutely no nuance. It doesn't take a lot to add a bit of nuance and say, well, first and second got 100 points each, unprecedented high. Sheffield United scored 92 on pitch with the deduction, got all the way to the playoff final, were leading going into the sort of final 20-25 minutes and didn't get over the line. They couldn't have got much closer, but I accept if you're running it on a razor, did they succeed? Did they fail? Did they go up? Did they not? Not fail, all of those things. Which then puts us into the kind of ownership discussion, and COH Sport, who took over in December last year, clearly deemed that Chris Wilder failed, because the kind of iconic Sheffield United manager, who obviously used to tell us in press conferences a lot that he was fan, player and manager, which to be fair is pretty unique, was out the door in summer. We spoke about that a lot. I'll link my thoughts and videos about that at the end of this one. Lots of briefing going on from whichever side you want to believe, but hey, we've done with that. The ship has sailed. Chris Wilder has gone. He will not be leading Sheffield United into year 2. This tricky year. We'll talk about Ruben Sellers in a minute. Why is it a tricky year? Well, if we take the 5-year period and we look at the teams that actually went into year 2 and didn't bounce back. So obviously 2 of those are Sheffield United and Luton. So that then puts us down to 4 years essentially, and 12 teams have been relegated that we've got data on in terms of a 2-year pool. Well, 6 of them bounced straight back in the first year, which I think tells you everything you need to know about the kind of chasms in English football and the propensity of teams to yo-yo right now. Of the 6 that went into year 2, 3 of them were promoted in year 2. And the problem is that the 3 that didn't get promoted are now going into years 4 and 5. So we've spoken a lot about binaries and about razor's edges. We can say on the basis of the last 5 years that if you do not make it back in year 2, you're staying for 4 years or 5 years. I'm pretty positive about Coventry and the long-term movement at the club. I mean, league position-wise, it's patently obvious. I've got the FootMob historical table positions, and obviously from 17-18 when they were in League 2, 2 seasons in League 1, that gives you a fairly steep lineup, but it's not really that line you need to pay attention to. It's the 16th, 12th, 5th, 9th, 5th, where you see Coventry have just become an established top 10 Championship side and an established playoff side, finishing in the top 6 in 2 of the last 3 seasons. And with the kind of compounding of what's been happening over the last 3 years. Yes, step forward, step back, 2 steps forward, 1 back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, etc. I do still think, if I've done my maths correctly with my steps there, they are closer than they've ever been to setting out for a promotion campaign. Obviously, there is the parachute teams to beat, 4 of them this season: Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton with the year 1, Sheffield United with the year 2. But Coventry are starting to look like the teacher's pet, gold standard, the kind of Brentford-Brighton type situation. And there's a few similarities you can look at there, because those 2 teams never had the parachute payments, although they did have well-funded owners. But they did have the invention of PRS whilst they were on their journey. But what we saw, and particularly from Brentford, was the way things traded up and how £500,000 deals became £1 million deals, became 2, 3, £4 million deals. And that's how they kind of bridged the gap between the haves and have-nots at the top of the Championship. Coventry are in the middle of doing that. The weird thing with Coventry is it was just far more gradual with Brentford, whereas Coventry basically went from having no assets that were massively saleable to all of a sudden getting to the playoff final with Harmer and Gyökeres, selling them for an absolute ton of money. And then all of a sudden, they had lots of money to do it. Now, obviously, in football, I always say as one of my general kind of rules that a sharp rise is followed by a sharp fall. And you do want to improve incrementally. That always works a little bit better. If you can do it gradually over 5 years, there's more of a sense that it's going to last than if you kind of do it all at once. Look at my club, Ipswich. Obviously, double promotion, is fantastic, but that then presents its own problems with things happening quicker than maybe you can keep up with. And, that's a knife edge that Ipswich have kind of got to ride. And I suppose with Coventry, all the money landed all at once, which made it slightly less easy to kind of grow gradually. I mean, some would argue, well, look, just get up there, have a season, take the 100 million quid TV money and your club changes overnight. Yes, that's true, but you want to build something lasting. It does feel that's what Coventry have been doing, because obviously when that money all came cascading in, I think there's going to be more for Gyökeres in terms of sell-on clauses if and when he joins Arsenal as well from Sporting. So that's the gift that keeps on giving. That Brighton reserve signed. That's been a good deal, hasn't it? But the following summer, Haji Wright, Ellis Sims, Ephron Mason Clark, Liam Kitchen, Milan Van Evik, Victor Torp, Bobby Thomas, Tashihiro Sakamoto, Brad Collins, Jay Da Silva, Joel Latabodier, etc., etc., etc. And those deals were, if transfer marked right, €9 million, 7 million, nearly 5 for a couple of them. The reason, I guess, for asking the question is the data and the kind of anecdotal stuff does say that the door did open up last season, didn't it? And the points total, I know, was a low one historically, wasn't it? 68 points, just 17 wins. Somebody go and fact check me. Surely no one's got in the playoffs with fewer than 17 wins. We're normally looking for a magical number of sort of 20. I guess it probably averages out between 3rd and 6th. I get the argument, look, it's a race. And if you're in the Olympic 100-meter dash race, whatever it's called, and you win it, but you win it with the slowest time ever, you get your gold medal, but people will, of course, then question the viability and say, well, was it just a slow race? If you run that time again next time, you're probably not going to win. And that, I guess, is the main argument in terms of Bristol City. There's plenty of stuff, though, to say that there is a nice trend in the right direction and that it could become regular. I've got the ever trusty foot mob map of the historic league positions, which is very, very revealing. And what you get from Bristol City coming up in 2015-16 is kind of two little peaks. The first one, they went 18, 17, 11, and then 8th in 2018-19. And then there was like kind of a financial reset, and it went 12th and down to 19th. But you'd be very positive. If I'm talking about data and numbers, and you're a Bristol City fan, throw this trend in, because it's gone 19, 17, 14, 11, 6. So very, very good across the last 5 seasons. Really, really nice progress. And the biggest jump there was indeed, it's very consistent, wasn't it? 2 places, 3 places, 3 places, but it was 5 places last season. It's almost a sense that would it have even been more helpful if it was 3 places and it was 8th place and you would then be moving to the playoffs this season. I don't know. I can run both arguments here. I always say that incremental growth is far more viable in the long term, but just win. Just get in there when you can, and if the door opens up, go ahead and run through it. I think I know we've got the benefit of hindsight that Sheffield United were significantly ahead of Bristol City, and we can talk about red cards in the playoff semi-final first leg, but it was a record-breaking deficit, and it was also a record-breaking gap on pitch. What was it, 92 to 68? So maybe they weren't quite ready. Maybe they would have been more ready this coming season. I normally say when teams punch above their weight, don't get triggered by that, Bristol City fans. I think I've laid out the kind of gravitas of the points total, and that jump there being higher than it has been in the last few seasons. I normally worry about teams that punch, supposedly above their weight and get in the playoffs. But I don't have the same worries with Bristol City. I do think infrastructure and growth has been steady, whereas, it's normally this. If you talk about a Barnsley or a Huddersfield, they were big. We're going to mention Barnsley actually in a minute, and maybe the guy who set up that playoff appearance for Big Val Ishmael, because he's now managing Bristol City. But you don't have that thing that happened at Huddersfield and the thing that happened at Barnsley of they were down the bottom, then immediately just shot up into the playoffs.